Assalamu alaikum and good day. Today we will be talking about the geologic time scale. This video should be, this lesson should be completed in 2 videos. We are looking at Grade 8 Science, Alef lessons 121 to 123, and I'm Ms. Fatima. So there's a lot of overlap between these Alef lessons, so I will make the video about 10 minutes and then move into the second video. Just understand that it covers all of Alef 121 to 123. Okay, so in this lesson, we are looking at chapter section 11.2, which is the Paleozoic Era. The essential questions for this are: what major geologic events occurred during the Paleozoic Era, and what does fossil evidence reveal about the Paleozoic Era? So the early Paleozoic era includes the Cambrian and Ordovician periods. So if you look here, remember the eon is the largest group in terms of time. Eons can be broken down into eras, and then eras are broken further into periods, and periods can be further broken into epochs. So the Phanerozoic era, eon, is what we are looking at. The Paleozoic era and the early include the first 2 periods of Ordovician and Cambrian. So the Phanerozoic eon can be divided into 3 eras: the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. So Mesozoic and Cenozoic eras have been included for self-study and enrichment. The Paleozoic era is what we will complete in terms of preparing for your Wizada exam. The Paleozoic era was more than half the Phanerozoic era and can be divided into the early, middle, and late stages. As we said, the early will include Ordovician and the Cambrian period. So Cambrian was about 542 million years ago. So wherever we see MYA, remember that means millions of years ago. So the early Paleozoic era was referred to the age of the invertebrate, and that is because organisms did not have backbones. So invertebrate means no backbones. After the Precambrian period, remember there was the Cambrian explosion where invertebrates came to live, and this is organisms primarily lived in the water. And therefore, this is called the age of the invertebrate. Remember, the Cambrian period was from about 542 million years to 488 million years ago, followed by the Ordovician period, which was 488 to 444 million years ago. So the geology of the early Paleozoic era: there was no life on land. All life was in the ocean. So again, we had all of those invertebrates that were living in the ocean. The location and shape of Earth's continents also would have been different. So we can see the shape of North America here in the image. So North America was further south on the equator. And because of Earth's climate being so warm, there were rising seas that flooded the continents and formed what's called inland seas. So these inland seas just refer to the fact that the ocean came over into the land, making these shallow inland seas. So most of North America was covered by these inland seas. The Middle Paleozoic era included the Silurian and Devonian periods. So here we're moving into the Devonian period. The early Paleozoic ended with a mass extinction. So remember, geologic time is measured by these mass extinction events. So the early Paleozoic ended with a mass extinction, but many of these invertebrates that were living in the oceans survived. But we get new forms of life that lived in reefs along the continent's edges. So we're finding organisms living here by the edge of continents. And we start to see vertebrates, which are animals with backbones. So remember, in the early Paleozoic era, it was primarily invertebrates. We're moving into the middle Paleozoic era, where we have vertebrates or animals with backbones. This period is called the Age of Fish. There were so many fish in this period that it was known as the Age of Fish. This book image appears in your book. This is the Dunleosteus Fish, which was heavily armored. So armor just refers to the plates that might cover this fish or fish of this time. So fish of this time were heavily armored, like this Dunleosteus fish. And on land, you start to see organisms moving to land, like cockroaches, dragonflies, and other insects that are evolving at this time. And small plants appeared in the ocean. So Earth's first plants appear in this middle Paleozoic period, and these plants are small and live in water. Okay, so the geology of the middle Paleozoic era. Rocks contain evidence of major collisions between moving continents. So we spoke, and you've spoken in the past about plate tectonics. Remember, plate tectonics refers to the movement of the tectonic plates. And when we have a collision, remember that's a convergent plate. So rocks containing evidence of major collisions between moving continents. These collisions created mountains like the Appalachian Mountains on the east coast of America. And I will play this video again, and this is showing a possible formation of the Himalayan mountains in Asia. So see, we have the subducting tectonic plate forcing the lands to come together and uplifting that rock to form the Appalachian Mountains. The late Paleozoic era ended with a mass extinction event. The middle Paleozoic era ended with a mass extinction event. Many marine and some land animals disappeared. We are going to move into the late Paleozoic era, which includes the Carboniferous and the Permian periods, and we will later talk about the Permian extinction. I'm going to stop there because that covers Alef lessons 121 and 122, and then we will focus on the late Paleozoic era in order to cover the Alef lesson 123. I will let this animation play so we can see how organisms change through this Paleozoic era. So this is a picture of a dragonfly. We can see the dragonfly. Animals are starting to move on land, so we get our amphibians and reptiles, etc., moving onto land. But we'll look at that more into the next video. So thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.